Ladies and gentlemen, it is a brand new era for the Stire Sound. Welcome to episode 29. We are live and in color. A little bit of a last minute thing. I have a brand new microphone. Stand is not set up yet. Loose program, but we're starting to figure this thing out. We got a little bit of video today. Let us know what video platforms or services we could use because right now we're just recording this on Zoom. Don't suggest Streamlabs either because we've had a lot of bugs with that on the TransWorld Motocross live show. Started out good when we first started doing the show, but recently we've had a lot of issues with that. But nonetheless, welcome to episode number 29 of the Stire Sound. I am Trey Stire, your host. Joining me as always, as you can see from the Dirt Legal Dirt Bike Depot KTM team, they are in action for the first time this year, this weekend, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. Of course, we're going to recap Seattle, but a lot of 250 East season preview talk as well. Jack Noel, what's up, man? We finally got cameras. A little bit of an upgrade to the setup this week.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm glad to be showing some face. I think it's good to put a voice to a face, I guess, if you haven't seen us before. But no, yeah, I'm excited. And this past weekend in Seattle was some great racing, some championship shakeups, and I think East Coast is going to bring some more action to the field. I think with it just being so deep, I think, and there's not being like a clear guy who can seems to be a favorite. I mean, Shimoda does seem like the clear favorite, but he is coming back from injury, so it'll be interesting to see how everything works out. But I'm very excited to see how things stack up.
Of course, 250 East talk will be dominating most of the show, but for now, we are going to start off with some Seattle talk. And at the beginning of the day, it started a bit like Glendale did. Jorge Prado out front in qualifying, but unfortunately went down pretty hard second session. And he looked like he was going to line up for the night show and did, but pulled off immediately. Bummer there for Jorge. He could be out for a couple weeks. Not sure exactly what the diagnosis is there. I know some kind of shoulder issue, but we will see if he lines up this weekend or elects to take a couple weeks off. In the heat races, shout out to the guys who were having some stress there at the line, but they ripped the whole shot. Ken Roxon had to refire his bike after it stalled, gets everything going, pulls the whole shot, pulls the heat race win. Cooper Webb, goggle strap breaks. He pulls the whole shot there, gets the win. And then in the main event, it was Cooper Webb and Eli Tomac dueling up front. Hunter Lawrence and Ken Roxon, of course, one of the biggest stories. Hunter and Kenny battling for a position in the top five. And unfortunately, Hunter was going a bit outside in that sand section. Kenny cut a bit inside. And unfortunately, both men went down. And Hunter was very transparent and said, I didn't mean to take Ken out. I don't think anybody really thought he meant to take Kenny out, but still great to see Hunter being transparent and being honest. But up front, Cooper Webb, of course, won the last 2 years at Seattle. You think maybe he wins again, but Eli Tomac, another guy who's been historically great at Seattle, and he gets his third win of the season in 6 races. And now the championship standings, once again, going into Seattle, Hunter was up by 5 over Ken Roxon, 8 over Eli Tomac. Now Eli's only one behind. It keeps shaking. It keeps turning around, and now Eli Tomac back in prime position as we start the East Coast swing. It was a fun night in the 450 class once again. The championship continues to shake up. Cooper Webb just keeps inching closer. He did lose a few points to Tomac, but gained some on Hunter, who was the points leader. Ken Roxon, really the biggest loser of the night, faded to 10th after he couldn't get his bike refired from that crash. And then, of course, we have Chase Sexton, who was another off night for Chase. He just wasn't really in the fight. So I'm going to hand things over to you now. Another very interesting championship shakeup happening, just as we thought Eli Tomac hit a bump in the road and went down. Now he's back up, and Hunter Lawrence makes a mistake and has a little bit of a collision with Ken Roxon and shakes everything back up.
Yeah, I think it was very interesting to say the least, like a main event wise, because you see Cooper Webb out front early, and you're like, all right, well, Cooper Webb seemed to be pretty dominant here. He's in the lead. It's like seems like Cooper Webb's going to be that guy in Seattle. But recently, the last 2 years, Eli Tomac hasn't been in Seattle. So granted, it's been a little bit easier for Cooper Webb to, win the race. When you look at Seattle in the last 5 years, Eli Tomac has been very successful there as well. So you think, okay, like Coop's in the lead, and everybody's first thought is, yeah, Coop's going to run away with this thing. And Coop was at one point, like the first 4 laps, Cooper Webb looked like he was just going as hard as he could, and it wasn't sustainable. And like obviously, I think he tightened up, but I think he knew he had to move that fast to try to have any chance of winning because he knows Tomac and Hunter Lawrence and those guys are no slouches, and that's just kind of what happened. He tightened up, and Tomac was able to close on in, and he wasn't. Tomac was hitting the lines that Cooper wasn't, and it really did. That's a big effect on the race. I mean, if you're not doing something that somebody else is doing that, and they're doing it that's half a second faster, you're going to get caught and you're going to get passed, and that's exactly what happened. Granted, that track was absolutely gnarly. Like it was one of the gnarliest supercross tracks I've ever seen, and like it always is. And I think just being how wet it was during the week, it really broke down more than I thought it might have. Maybe we've seen in years past, but yeah, no, it was a great race from Eli to be able to come through the pack a little bit. I mean, he wasn't too far back. I think he was in what, fourth off the start or something like that.
Yeah, he was right there pretty much immediately, but I think you bring up a good point once again. The track, always Seattle seems like to be soft and shoot up, but this year was brutal, it looked like.
Yeah, like it wouldn't even last 4 laps. Like they did a full prep before the LCQs, and it was just absolutely toast after the two of the LCQs. So the track was just probably just mashed, and the lines were getting hard to do. And I give props to Tomac for staying strong, and because that the track ever changing like that, like you just sometimes the fast line goes away, but he was able to maintain that. And I think that's a testament to how good he is, um, and how he can develop over with these tracks, breaking down and stuff like that, which is a skill not a lot of riders have. And then to touch on Hunter Lawrence and the Ken Rocks incident, I think Hunter Lawrence, if he would have started out front, would have probably won. I think he was the fastest guy. He had the best lines, in my opinion. He looked the most consistent. He's moving his way through the field really, really well. I think it took him a little bit too long to. I think he did. I don't remember if he who he was stuck behind for the longest. I think it might have been Chase and Jacob, and
Jacob, yeah.
he just could not get Jacob. And granted, Jacob had a good line, and Hunter just took a little bit to pick up on it. And
Reminded me of Kenny at Houston during the Triple Crown. He couldn't get around Jacob either, and that ended up costing him the overall potentially.
yeah, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. And you know, you look at statistically how it goes when you get stuck behind people. It's you're not going to get a chance to go for the leads if they're out front. So, um, he moved his way through the pack. I think he had a podium in him. I think he could have got past Kenny and Jacob to get on that podium, but I think it was kind of a bonehead move on his part, to do that. You know what I mean? So to do what he did, because it worked on Jacob when he did pass Jacob. Now that I remember, he did get by those guys, but it took him a long time. Um, and it worked because Jacob kind of checked up, knew it was coming, and then Kenny's not going to just roll over like Justin Cooper did. And you have to expect that if you're Hunter Lawrence, and you have to know that those two lines come together. And it to me, it's like sometimes you have to take your medicine and realize it's not always, you don't have to get it done right there. I understand it worked for J Coop, but it's not always going to work every time. And he was also a lot closer to J Coop than he was Kenny at the time. So I think it's kind of a move that him being kind of younger in the class and still learning a bit, like it's a move that you wouldn't see a veteran guy like a Ken Roxon or Eli Tomac do. Um, so it's definitely a learning thing for him. I mean, he's lucky to walk away with the red plate still. So that's good for him. And I think if he was out front early, it would have been a different story. I think he could have won that race. Because I think if you look at the lap times, he was dropping his lap times as the race went on. Um, so yeah, that's something you don't really see that often at a track like Seattle. And then for Kenny, it's such a bummer that they don't have an Eastern on that Suzuki, man. It's like if he could have got up, he probably would have finished in fifth or sixth. But he's just sitting there kicking his bike, so he finishes in 10th, which it doesn't throw him completely out of the championship. But for a guy like for a guy like Ken Roxon, he kind of always has to be as close as he can because I don't think he can't win as easily as a guy like Eli Tomac can or Chase Sexton or Hunter, even Hunter can really. I think Hunter's got a better chance of being up there more and having him. I think Hunter will win this year. I think he'll win multiple times. Um, but at the end of the day, it's like Kenny kind of has to be in that fight the whole time to give himself a chance. And we've seen it happen before where he's gotten to Daytona and kind of the wheels kind of fall off for Kenny, whether it's a big crash or he has a race that's kind of off. But he's only 11 down. So if he can maintain through this Daytona push, you know, maybe we see Ken Roxon close to the points leader, maybe even have the red plate at some point. But the problem is now that Eli Tomac's tied on points, it's going to be hard to beat two guys that are as good as Hunter Lawrence and Ken Roxon. Then you have Cooper Webb, that's right there still. And Cooper Webb's a title guy, like and we're going to Arlington. I mean, that's not a good
Stomping
sight to
grounds.
see. And then you have Chase. Like Chase to me this year is kind of like a wild card. Like I don't know how good his chances are of winning this title unless he can figure some stuff out, which I think is possible. Like I don't think it's like too far out of the question because he definitely has the speed to win. Like as we saw in Anaheim too, he got through the front guys real easy and checked out. So yeah, for Kenny, it's going to be now or never. I think if he has another bad race, I think we can probably write him off. I hate to say that because I do like Ken Roxon, but at the end of the day, it's the way this game goes. And if you're not always at the front, it's bad. But to be 11 points down after a 10th place finish, like you can't be that upset. But at one point, he had the red plate at Seattle in the races at Seattle, which is crazy. So, but yeah, we're going to Arlington, and Cooper Webb will be that guy. Cooper Webb's going to be the guy to beat. I think Tomac will be good too. So I'm interested to see how it all plays out. And I'm interested to see if a guy like Chase can maybe moving east, he can figure things out a little bit. I know he's a little bit better on these kind of tracks, and maybe he can revamp his championship hopes and click off a couple wins. I think it's something he needs to do, and it just sucks to see him so uncomfortable because I mean you saw how good Prado looks now. I mean it's kind of like what do we do, bro? Like maybe I mean maybe he was right. You know what I mean? So um and that's just one of those things that's like, is he scratching his head right now saying, why did I move to Kawasaki, or why did I give up on this KTM thing too early, or you know what I mean? Like it's kind of disappointing because like I've said all year is this is the year for a guy to win a championship with no Jet Lawrence. It's gonna be tough when Jet comes back because Jet's a guy that's never gonna be off the podium and will probably win 8 to 10 races every year. And it's hard to beat a guy like that. So for Chase, he can come back because of how deep it is still, but I mean he's going to need some luck and he's going to have to start clicking off wins now.
I agree. I think it's starting to enter must-win territory for Chase, honestly. It's been a very weird season because usually he's either up there battling for wins, battling for championships or pole positions, whatever it is. But this year, apart from a couple rounds, of course, Anaheim 2 was awesome, but we really haven't seen that usual speed level out of Chase. And hopefully he does get better on the East Coast, but it's definitely approaching, in my opinion, starting to get to must-win territory. I wouldn't say it yet, considering he's still in that 25-point range where he's within a race of the title, but it's starting to get a little bit more of a raised level each week of him needing to win. And I think, like you said, with Ken Roxon, if he had an E start, I mean, that's probably a good solid 5, 6 points he doesn't lose. But those 5 or 6 points could end up killing his championship run later in the season. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to fix that or not. Cooper Webb, like you said, going into Arlington, he's got to be playing with house money. A few podiums these last few rounds. He's starting to heat up, and he's so good in that building. It's going to be fun to see whether he's able to accomplish a victory or not. But we finally had a fun 250 West race as well. First one really since San Diego, I mean, was kind of interesting with Deegan running Anstey down and giving him a little elbow grease. But Haiden Deegan, Levi Kitchen, back and forth. Of course, it was Kitchen's home race. He is a Washington native from Washougal. And those two just traded the lead, traded the lead. Deegan got out front early. You're like, well, here we go. But Levi just ripped his way through the pack, started about fifth or sixth, but was really able to work through those guys like Anstey, Mosman, Ryder D, those guys in that pack. He just worked his way through them. Started catching Hayden, and the crowd just started getting louder and louder. Of course, their hometown guy going for the W. Deegan ends up getting the win. It was a fun race, but one thing we've talked about on this show in the past is Haiden Deegan and his frequent usage of looking back. And I'm not sure, once again, I saw it the other night. It was like, dude, you probably have the speed. Put your head down right away. And it said, where is he? Where is he? He's looking around all over the place. A little bit of cat and mouse games. I think Deegan kept it fairly clean for his standards. He ran it in a couple times, but Levi, I think, was expecting it and a show of sportsmanship after the race, which I was really impressed about. I think Deegan was going to go find something to shoot at him again, but he saw him right there and was like, you know what, that was a fun race. Good to see some sportsmanship between the two because obviously they've traded so many shots back and forth on social media and at the track this year. But finally, we had an entertaining 250 West main event. But shout out to Haiden Deegan because now 5 wins in a row. Pretty insane streak if you think about it. And finally, something for people to cheer about and watch with anticipation instead of Hayden just getting out front and walking away with everything.
Yeah, no, it was definitely cool to see Levi, and I think Levi in that stadium. It's honestly pretty crazy to see like you see like a guy like Tomac when he goes to Colorado and how everybody's roaring the crowd and you can hear it on the TV and stuff like that. You really don't see that much with a 250 guy. And like Levi being from Washington, I mean, there's not a whole lot of guys that are from the Pacific Northwest that race, that are at a high level. And I think the crowd really gravitates for Levi. And I think that's what kind of rattled Deegan a little bit, early in the race. Like he's hearing the crowd go crazy. He's like, what's going on back there? What's going on back there? It's like, that man's coming, dude. He's coming. And like, he's coming hard. SMX come out like that one. But um, nonetheless, it was a great race. It was my heart rate was through the roof because I'm a big Levi guy. Me and Levi are good buddies, and yeah, man, I was really pulling for Levi there. It was cool to see him ride so well and really finally show what I think he's been all about. And sorry, I think obviously being in Seattle, the confidence is up, and you have everybody behind you. Something that kind of can bolster your, kind of make you ride a little bit more. I think anybody will say it. When the crowd's behind you, you definitely have like another person, kind of like the 12th man in Seattle. Seattle had that second man in Seattle. That's what he had, which was cool to see. And yeah, man, it was a great fight. I thought Deegan at first I was kind of like, is Deegan just giving way? Like I really that first pass, I was like, what is he doing? Like, is he really
I
just
thought it
letting?
was Stu at Redbud in '02, honestly. When Stu let Chad by and then goes back and then passes him back later in the race to just say, you know what, I'm better than you. I thought that's what Hayden was doing when he let him by. I'm like, oh, he's going to pull a Stu here, let him go, and then either blow his doors off speed wise or punt him into the eighth row.
I think he might have been going for the punt in the eighth row, to be honest, because like I don't think Deegan's the cleanest rider out there. He's definitely very aggressive. But it was giving me like Dean Wilson, Tomac flashbacks of just
Mm.
going back and forth. It was pretty sick to watch on TV. I mean, I'm sure being there would have been sweet too, but nonetheless, it was a very, very interesting race, and um, I can't lie, it was great to see Levi and Deegan not be out front the whole time and it be a snooze fest of a 250 main. So that was such a good change of pace to kind of get, excited for the East Coast and, give the West a little bit more like hope for whenever they come back. It's not going to be just the Deegan show. But I do think that those two guys are a step ahead of, I think, everybody in the 250 class, East included. Maybe not Cole Davies, but I do think that those two guys, like, I think as soon as Levi races a coast without Deegan on it, I think Levi will be a title, like, will win the title. Um, because I just think Levi has so much pace and stuff like that. And he's very comparable to Deegan, which is cool that Levi, has the nuts to say, I'm gonna go race him, I want to race him, I want to give him a fight. Because I mean, if Levi wasn't out there, who else is doing that? Like
No one.
We saw West last year. I mean, Cole Davies was pretty good, but we had the rookie mistakes early in the season that kind of cost him a little bit. But nonetheless, Cole was great, and it was good to see those two go at it. But I do think like when you get to the tracks that are a little softer, not so much like the Cali dirt where we're in, or like Glendale or A2, A1 and San Diego. I think Deegan struggles a little bit. I mean, Houston was kind of blue groove too. It wasn't very ruddy. Um, but nonetheless, I mean, it was cool to see Levi and Deegan just go at each other and have a fight for a battle that I think we'll look back on in 5, 6 years and say, remember this race? So I think it was cool. But I am bummed that Levi couldn't get it done. But I do think, I mean, they only have one regular race left, I believe, right?
Yeah, you're
Just
right. Denver, right before the end, too. That's
yeah.
what,
So
2 months away? Two and a
yeah,
half?
yeah. So they have a while till they go racing, just them two again. Um, so I'm interested to see how it goes. But yeah, no, I think I'm hoping that at least one of the East West shootouts somebody can beat Deegan. I think if anybody does, it'll be Kitchen. Um, but yeah, no, it was a great racing, and I think everybody can agree it was one of the best races we've seen all year.
Definitely was, and of course they will be back Birmingham, I believe, the first East-West showdown of the year in the end of March. But now shifting gears, we got 250 East competition this weekend, a whole new series to talk about. Of course, we talked about it a little bit in our 250 class preview show toward the beginning of the year. But one of the biggest things, we had no idea if Joe Shimoda was going to be fully healthy or whether he was going to have to miss the Supercross season. And I said in that show, if Joe's healthy, he's my title favorite. But if he's not racing, it would be Seth Hamaker and Cole Davies. Of course, we get news yesterday. We're recording this Tuesday afternoon. Joe is back. Joe is healthy. He will be racing this weekend in Arlington. And of course, you have Seth Hamaker, Cole Davies, some other wild cards in there. Nate Thrasher always wins a race every year, it seems like. Pierce Brown's in there. Jalik Swoll. You have Dax Bennick on the Rockstar Husky. Caden Dudney's on the entry list right now, so even more depth for the Star Yamaha guys. Get to see one of their young guys mix it up. I feel like it would have been Munir's spot, but unfortunately, with him going down in the Houston SMX Next race or in qualifying, not even the race, Dudney wins that race and goes second at Anaheim after a good performance. That gives Caden Dudney the seat over there, at least pro ranks this year. But a lot of talent in the East Coast. Drew Adams, I didn't even mention him either. Really, his first full season last year, he kind of had an abbreviated rookie season, got called up late, then got injured. But some fast guys over there on the East Coast. I think, though, Joe Shimoda now coming back. Yes, he is coming right off an injury, but the way he was riding at the end of 2025, I think he is the heavy title favorite in that division. But Seth Hamaker and Cole Davies, I think, are going to give him a fight and be up there up front every weekend. What do you think about the title contenders for the East class?
Yeah, I think Cole, Joe, and Seth are definitely my three guys that I think will be at the front. I think we'll see those guys on the podium a lot this year. I think each of those guys will probably get a race win. I'm very excited to see how Joe will do. You know, bearing that he's coming back from injury. I hope he's at 100%. It's hard to say if he is or not. I mean, I'm sure he's still struggling with some stuff. I mean, which is such a bummer. But nonetheless, I think he'll be solid. I think that he'll be competitive still, whether it takes him a minute to get going or not. I think that probably will be the case. I don't think it'll be, lightning success like we saw last year from him at A1. But like I said last year, like I think if Joe doesn't break his fingers, it's kind of a whole different story for Joe Shimoda in that title. I think he has a real good chance of contending with Deegan last year. So I think he has some of the same in him. I mean, we saw in outdoors how good he was, and he was able to go toe to toe with Haiden, who seems to be unstoppable on an outdoor track on a 250. Um, so yeah, no, I'm very interested to see how everything shakes up. I don't think he's going to be, like I said, 100% right away. It's just to me, it's like he's probably only had a week or two, maybe 2 weeks on the bike on Supercross. Um, and to do, these other guys have been grinding for 3 months, you know what I mean? So like it's really hard to put yourself in that position where you're kind of behind the eight ball of fitness and race pace and whatever, to get back on the track and win right away. So I think it'll take him a minute. But granted, we do have a bunch of rounds back to back to back, and I think it'll be good racing at all of these races for him. I think like I see him to be at least in the top five, no doubt, but to win, I think it's a bit of a stretch right now. But I do think he could be contending for the title if he can build every weekend, which I think will be good. And like we say, like this year in the 280 class on the West Coast, it's a lot harder to have a bad race. We've seen Anstey have bad races. We've seen Mosman have bad races. We've seen Kitchen. We've seen McAdoo. We've seen all those guys. I mean, those guys that went, they had bad races because they went down hard or, whatever. But at the end of the day, like if, you start at the back of the pack, the worst of these guys are going to finish is sixth or seventh. Like, really. Like, there's not that much depth to the 250 Westfield, when it comes to the middle of the pack guys. Like, we see guys like, no disrespect to, Crockett Myers, but like he's getting 14th every weekend and he's right on the edge of, the middle of the pack guys like, the Bar X Yamahas and the KTM AEO guys. Like those guys are good, don't get me wrong, but I think on the East Coast, you have more factory guys. So, and then two, you have a lot more of those middle of the pack team guys, like the whole Phoenix Racing Honda team. Even dirt bike us, like I mean, obviously we're not Gage, so we're a little bit behind the eight ball there. But then you have like Club MX, and then you have PRMX and stuff like that, where you don't really.
MX6 has like 87 guys as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I forgot about those guys. They got Wellen, Miller, and Derek Kelly. So those guys are all very solid, guys on a dirt bike, and those guys have showed, like Welton and Henry Miller for sure have showed that they have top 10 speed. So you have a lot of guys that are on like that middle of the road, like second level teams that aren't necessarily factory guys, but there's a lot of those guys compared to the West Coast where there's six or seven of those guys. On the East there's probably about 10, 12, and then you have more factory guys on top of that. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I think if a bad race is going to be really like is going to be a bad like if you have a bad race, a bad start, it's going to be a lot tougher to get to the top five than it is if you're on the West Coast. But yeah, I think it's going to be wide open from the start. I think it's going to be anybody's game to kind of stamp their name on the East Coast title. I think Cole Davies has a real chance of being really, really good. But I think Seth Hamaker is the hungriest guy in the whole field. And I think everybody should be scared about that number 10. He's got something to prove this year after a super unlucky result last year in the 250 class. And I think it's go time for him. And I think knowing that, I mean, him and Joe do train together, so that could be interesting. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be very, very, very tough to beat a guy like Seth this year. I think, and I mean, you had guys like Drew Adams, Cole Davies, Pierce Brown, Daxton Bennick. Tons of names out there that you could just name off guys that are podium level. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but yeah, it'll be fun. I think the East Coast will be anybody's game. We could see a guy like Pierce Brown who started off the year so great last year in Tampa. Obviously was running second for majority of the main event that went down. I think we would have finished on the podium, no doubt. Um, and we could see him come out of the shadows. He's been healthy for the last 4 or 5 months, getting ready for Supercross. So a guy like him to me is scary. A guy like Cade Dundee, like you said, he's scary. Nate Thrasher, he's scary. Like those guys they haven't had the potential to win championships necessarily, but they've shown they have the ability to win races. And I think that's scary for everybody when a guy has the speed to win now has what seems to be a clean slate for everybody, to get going into the series. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited for East Coast. I think it's gonna be really really tough to crack the top 15 if you're a guy on the outside looking in. And it's gonna be I'm interested to see what some of these guys stack up. Factory guys included, like some of the guys that are kind of on the back end, like Casey Cochran. I'm trying to think who else is out there. Like some of the Club MX guys. See how those guys stack up and how they can mix things up a little bit because those guys aren't any slouches at all. So yeah,
Cullen as
I'm
well.
very Colin. Yeah, Colin Park as well. So I mean he's finished top five in points last year. I think it's a year for him to prove something. And I think he has the ability to be a top five guy consistently. So I'm very interested to see how everything stacks up, and I think it's going to be whoever can get going early is going to have a great chance to win this title.
Before we move on to our predictions and that sort of thing, I mean, it seemed like you were trending toward Pierce Brown for the next question I was going to ask, but who is your biggest wild card rider in the series? Like this guy could potentially step up, steal wins. Pierce Brown's definitely on my list as well. I think last year, like you mentioned, I mean, he was leading at Tampa. And of course, you go back even farther, his last race with TLD Gas, he goes up, beats Haiden Deegan straight up, and wins the Las Vegas SMX race a couple years ago. And I think people will start to forget that. Of course, Pierce didn't race much last year, but he was out there trending in a really good direction. It's like, oh, this guy might be legit. And then all of a sudden he goes down in the whoops and it's all over. I think Jalik Swoll is a guy that also could be a wild card. Last year, I think Jalik mentioned before the season, of course, he got hurt, but he was saying that this is the best I've felt going into the year. And I think it's easy to say that, but the small sample size we had of him outdoors, he was getting better starts. He showed a little bit better speed, in my opinion. And of course, he got a podium at Redbud as well. So I think Pierce Brown and Jalik Swoll could be two guys that really jump off the page this year. I don't put them in that title contender category like I would have Joe, Seth, and Cole Davies. But if those guys got a win and were on the podium a good bit this season, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. And I think they could play spoiler throughout the season if it turns into a season-long battle between a couple of those guys we just mentioned in the top tier.
Yeah, no, I agree. My biggest dark horse this year is honestly a guy like Dax and Bennick. I think Dax, he's shown the speed that he can be a top three guy. Like he's podium twice now in Supercross, and it's obviously been early in the season. But I think it's time for him to kind of prove something to everybody that like he belongs. You know, he deserves what he has, and I think he has the ability to do that. I think the new program is going to be beneficial for him. I think the Star program is good but bad. Like a lot of guys don't fit in there, and I think he was kind of maybe it wasn't the greatest thing for him. He obviously was going fast, but it didn't seem like the greatest fit for a guy like Dax. So I'm glad to see him back, you know, on a KTM group machine with the Husqvarna guys, and I'm interested to see how he stacks up. I think that he'll be a guy that's gets good starts, hits all the rhythms, has good whoop speed. Like it's hard to bet against a guy like that whenever you know he has such raw talent. And I think that his racecraft will be picked up, you know, with being at the Baker's factory and riding with the 450 guys and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, no, I'm very interested to see how everything goes, and um, yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting to say the least. I think Dax is my guy. I think that can get a win or two this year and kind of stamp his name on like, hey, look, I'm here to contend and I'm here to fight. And um, yeah, even like a guy like Drew Adams, like I've been saying it too. Like Drew, when he's an amateur, at least I saw him ride quite a bit. He was very impressive. Like he was by far the best guy in the SMX next class, ahead of Cole Davies at the time. I think, and I think everybody can kind of agree with that. Like Cole or
Yeah.
Drew was very, very good coming up through the amateur ranks. And obviously kind of got thrown to the wolves a little bit going pro so early, but now it's like I think he's a guy that has the ability to make that step and be a race winner and be a podium guy. So I think a guy like him is very, very interesting to watch as well. I mean, along with Pierce and a guy like even like Nate Thrasher, although he's had, you know, his lows are low and his highs are high, but if he can kind of mend the gap a little bit and not have some of them big lows and, you know, continue to have some of the good highs, I think he could be a championship contender as well, to be completely fair with you. So, but I do think a guy like Cole Davies, I wonder how he'll do. Because last year it was very like no pressure, you know, it's very easy to
Point.
ride whenever you don't have any pressure. You know, like the championship was out of contention. It wasn't, and you're facing your teammates, and the team's not putting any pressure on you to, you know, go out and win races. Um, so yeah, I'm interested to see how he does with the pressure of having like people think that he has the ability to win this title. I mean, he's only 18 years old. Like maybe he's 19 now, I don't know, but nonetheless, to have that pressure, it's definitely something that is doesn't come easy. It's really really tough, and um, I think to see how he reacts to everything, like if he's able to go out in Arlington and win a race, it's like, all right, Cole don't care. He's ready to go. And but yeah, no. So I think, and then you know Seth too. I mean that's my title pick this year is Seth Hamaker. Just because he's healthy and he learned probably so much last year with being in that fight with RJ and Tom, and you know stuck through it till the end. I mean, he had a couple bad rounds, but was in it right to the very end, and I think he would have won if RJ didn't take him out. So I'm interested to see how it all stacks up, and I'm ready for this weekend. I'm ready for our guys to get back racing too, man. I'm itching, man. I'm itching. So yeah, I'm excited for Arlington.
Drew Adams, I mean, you have a good point there as well. And that's a guy who, like you said, the abbreviated season, and I mentioned it earlier as well. I feel like this is essentially his rookie season of Supercross, at least, because he goes out last year. He's like, is he going to be a fill-in? Is he going to be SMX next? You didn't really know what he was going to do at the start of last year. Then Marchbanks and Masterpool get hurt, and it's like, well, we got to throw the kid in there and get somebody out there. Top 10 guy at the first couple rounds, then he gets hurt, misses a good chunk of time. I think he only ended up racing two actual main events due to how the schedule lined up, but it was such a weird dynamic for him. I feel like this is essentially, even though he had some races to get acclimated to it last year in Supercross, of course, he ran the whole outdoor season, but I feel like it's still Drew's rookie year kind of in Supercross. But at the same time, you mentioned you look at the SMX Next stuff from a couple years ago, and it did look like Drew was better. Yes, Cole looked good, but Drew looked even better. And I think going into last year, I definitely would have said that Drew Adams has a better start to his career than Cole Davies, but it didn't pan out that way. Drew is definitely going to be very, I'm trying to look for the right word to say, but I feel like people were sleeping on him, but I feel like that's kind of warranted because last year was such a weird dynamic of what is he going to do? Then, oh, he's thrown into the action and then he was hurt immediately. It was a very start and stop campaign for him last season. And I think he's a little bit behind in that aspect. But you talk about your guys' team. Unfortunately, Gage Linville injured, and he was coming off of an incredible offseason, winning both pro Partzilla Arena Cross championships. Jace Kessler was performing well in that series, though. He was a podium guy toward the end of the year. He's back with the team for the second year. Marcus Phelps back with the team for his third year. Really hungry to make some main events. And of course, Jackson Driscoll, the new guy, more of the support rider on the team. But you said you're excited to be back at the races in the team aspect. How are the guys feeling going into round one of the season? Of course, hurts that the team leader is out. You don't have that guy to really base the team results off of. Of course, Gage was the guy who's pressed ahead for the team from top 15s to top 10s to the podium last year at Foxborough. But you still have three really hungry guys. What is the mindset going into Arlington for the DBD camp?
I think the mindset for all of us is we want to be in the fight at least. I think it's tough to, you look at how deep this field is. I'm sure the entry list has got 75 guys on it, and there's probably 25 to 30 guys that are really, really competitive, So it's gonna be tough. I mean, you have guys like Hardy Munoz and Kyle Peters and um, Romano and those guys who aren't on teams, but like the Evan Ferries and the Gavin Towers and like the Hunter Millers and the Marshall Weltons, like those are the guys that we're battling with. We're trying to battle with, and Gage was in the mix with those guys a lot. Um, so it's really tough to kind of like say like who's going to be the next Gage, right? Like it's kind of like who's going to step up and be that guy for our team. Like I mean, granted, I want all of the guys to be successful, but we look at how Gage rode, and it's like Gage can kind of like suppress their results sometimes. And I mean, none of them had a great year last year. Jace was hurt most of the year. Jackson was his rookie year, kind of learned figuring things out on his. He got hurt last year too. Marcus got hurt last year, and then we had Crockett, who unfortunately we didn't retain. But you know, now we're like, all right, well, who's going to step up and fill the void? Because it sucks. I mean, I'm glad Crockett's doing well, but it's like, well, I wish it was with us or something like that. So, um, I do like Crockett's, but nonetheless, I'm very interested to see who will step up and be the guy that isn't just a gate filler and can push for a main event and compete for top 15s. So that's kind of like the conversation we've been having all year is like once we found the news that Gage wasn't going to be racing, is who's going to step up and be competitive and be put their name in the main event and be successful.
We're actually going to take a quick look here. I have the intro list pulled up, share my screen. Don't know if it's working or not. There we go. But might not be finalized exactly, but I mean, you look at these names, and there's a lot of main event talent in this field. Hammaker, Shock, Thrasher, Shimoda, Adams, Davies. Valentin Guillot is a major wild card, of course. So much MXGP experience, but he's very new to Supercross still. Cullen Park, Henry Miller, Swole, Bennett, Cochran, Welton, Towers, Kelly, Shelley, Caden Dudney, Jeremy Hand, usually a solid 15th place level guy, Simonson, Isaiah Clark, Luke Neese, Luke Clout coming over from Australia, and that guy can rip as well. I could see him stealing a few top tens. Of course, you got your guy Marcus Phelps in there. There are so many main event level guys. It's going to be hard. Kyle Peters is in there on his own on a Yamaha. Of course, you got Pierce Brown, triple digits this year. Hamden Hudson in there also for the PRMX guys. Some pretty impressive names on this list, even when you look back, as you mentioned, with the West class. I don't think there is as much depth, but you see so many guys on there. Evan Ferry, what can he do when he's healthy? He looked a lot better last year at A1, but unfortunately got hurt. So many guys in there. I mean, right now, of course, 52 guys for 40 spots, but you think about it, you're going to have a lot of good guys missing the main event possibly in round one with all these names on here.
No, yeah, it's super stacked. I mean, I'm looking at some of the names now, like Noah Viney, CJ Bernard, like just guys like that are kind of, we're haven't raced East before, but are moving to or raced West last year, now racing East, like Ryder Floyd, Luke Neese, Isaiah Clark, like those guys are no slouches. Jeremy Hand, Devin Simonson, like it's gonna be tough, no matter what anybody says. It's gonna be really, really tough, and I'm interested to see how everything goes.
Quickly look at the 450 list. No huge changes, but we do see Jordan Smith back this weekend for his first 450 race with the Triumph team. Prado could be out. Craig, don't know there, but a little bit more depth as well with some of the West guys. You got Cole Thompson, you got Robbie Wageman coming in there and running the 450 class this weekend. Justin Starling's back making his season debut, a Florida guy in there. The Moto Whips guys are back, so Anton Nordstrom's back in the field. A little bit more on the entry list, which is good to see for the 450 class. But now let's move, and I can pull up my handy spreadsheet for our predictions. And Seattle didn't go very well for us. I got Deegan and Kitchen though, but here's the standings. I am casually 25 points down on Jack. I did gain 5 back because, as you see, from Glendale when he got the perfect score in the 250 class, something that has only been done one single time, and that was it. But now we move in to Arlington podium predictions, and you can see I will help the board take shape here. We got the 450 class, we got the 250 class. Let's start off with the 450 division, of course, because we have an established identity, at least a little bit, with this division. We expect what guys are going to be where. So I'm going to go ahead and start it out. I should have copied everything over for the start, but my podium predictions for Arlington: Cooper Webb P1. I mean, can you really pick against Cooper Webb in Arlington? And I know I picked him the last few weeks, but it's Cooper Webb. He's always roaring into shape, roaring into that title fight around this time of year. I think Cooper Webb is going to get the job done in Arlington. I think second place. I think we see a rebound this weekend. I think Hunter Lawrence is going to go up there, get back on the podium, get back to second, gain a couple points. Not going to be anything crazy because I think I'm going to have Eli Tomac P3, but I think it's going to be a good rebound for Hunter Lawrence, although he's still not able to get that victory, I don't believe, this weekend. I have Cooper Webb in the catbird seat, winning once again in Arlington. I think this would be number 8, maybe at Arlington. Don't know the exact stat for sure. And then random position spot I rolled before. Actually, I think I rolled twice last week so I could have one ready for this week. And I'm trying to keep all of the positions different. As you can see throughout the year, we have had 11th, 14th, 16th. This week, 8th place. And my 8th place pick is going to be, it's not an easy place to pick, but I want to go Joey Savacci on the Quad Honda. He's been that 5 to 8 range pretty much all year, apart from being injured, or apart from crashing, I should say, at Anaheim 1 and in the Triple Crown at Houston. And he said, talking to my boss, Gavin Ayala at TransWorld Motocross after the race, he said, my goal is to be a 5 to 8 guy all year, and I think that's the range I can be every week. I think he's been proving that. There's so many guys in there. Once again, it could be 8th place, could be Mookie, AP, Dylan Ferrandis, maybe even Justin Hill. He's usually pretty fast at Arlington. He was fastest qualifier there last year. So there you have it. My 450 predictions. I got Cooper Webb, Hunter Lawrence, Eli Tomac on the podium. Joey Savacci for our random spot this week, wild card, whatever you'd like to call it, 8th place. Who you got 450 class?
All right, be honest. Oh, it's hard to bet against Cooper Webb. Hard to bet against Cooper Webb, but I'm going to this weekend. I'm picking Hunter
Oh,
Lawrence to win. I'm going
uh,
with it, man. I think Hunter's coming in strong. He's taking Cooper off the top, man. He's adding
I
to the
think that's
points here.
3 weeks in a row.
Yeah,
I've
no,
had
I
Webb to
know.
win, and you've had Hunter to win.
I'm
Yes,
just like I can't get off the train right now. I
Webb,
think
Webb,
I'm
Webb.
sticking with Hunter Lawrence getting a win before Daytona. Maybe at Daytona he gets it, but I'm picking Hunter Lawrence this weekend. Second place, I have Ken Roxon, the number
Kenny.
94. I think he might have something for Hunter, but it ain't gonna be enough. Ken Roxon second. I got Eli Tomac in third. I think Webb's off the podium this weekend. Just my thoughts. Just my thoughts. But
Interesting.
there it's people might think I'm crazy, but when you see three green boxes right there, you're gonna call me a genius. Eighth place, I'm going Jason Anderson.
Okay, yeah,
Ando's
there's
like
another guy.
Ando's
Just to
like
mention.
fits right in that slot right there. I think it's almost like too perfect not to put Jason Anderson to get eighth.
Team Pride.
Uh, I'm gonna go right in the 250 class, Trey, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Number one, winner, first ever 250
Oh.
Supercross win. Pierce Brown. Pierce Brown's
Oh
getting a win.
yeah. There we go.
Second place, I got D. Seth Hamaker. And then third place, he's done it 2 years in a row now. 2 years in a row. He's going to do it for a third. Daxton Bannock
Bannock.
on the podium. Rockstar Energy Husqvarna gets their first podium since RJ Hampshire left, or since RJ Hampshire moved up to the 250 class. And then my wild card eighth place spot for the 250 class, I'm going to go Cullen Park.
I was gonna
Cullen
say, have
Park
fun
eighth
picking that
place.
one.
I think it's like anybody could get eighth, but I think the
Yeah.
field right now is so deep. I think Cullen towards the end of the year will be right there. But to start off, I think it's going to be a little slow, a little steady. We're going to start off with an eighth place finish for the guy. I think it's a money pick for him. I think it's a good race, but not a bad. It's not a great race, but it's not a bad race. So
Good
I'm
building
happy
block.
my boy Cullen there. But yeah, man, I think it'll be interesting two video race.
Yeah, looking through, you're the only guy who's got a single random pick right now. Of course, was your perfect night in Glendale. Here we are, 250 class. I'm going to go backwards and forwards to build up a little bit more suspense. Third place, I don't have Dax Bennick on my podium, although trends say I should pick him. And technically, trends say that he should probably win this year in the opening round. He was third, Detroit 2024. He was second last year in the opener. Trends would say I think that he would win. But third
He could.
place
He could.
could, yeah, brand new season. Nobody knows what's happening. I'm stalling a little bit, as you can tell, because I have first and second planned out, but third place is like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to go Joe Shimoda for P3. I think he has solid speed, but not quite that race winning level speed. And I think he's going to have a good weekend, start the year off good, but not quite that winning level pace. I also have Seth Hamaker second. I think Seth is going to have a great season. He's also a guy I think is kind of underrated in opening rounds. He's had some podiums and really good runs in opening rounds several past years. I do have a first time winner in my 250 class at Arlington. He
Tell
got
me
his
it's
first podium there. Tell me it's Pierce Brown. It's not Pierce Brown. It's Jalik Swole. Jalik Swole got his first career
Delete
podium
Wall.
at Arlington. He was feeling
Wow.
good last year. I think he's going to turn the corner. I think Triumph, they've had a miserable year to start out, other than Deacon Dino running well in the SMX Next races. But they've had a miserable year to start out. Smitty's finally healthy, going to be attacking the 450 class. Swole's out there. And we know first rounds can be pretty random. I think 2 years ago, even though he was such a good level 250 guy, I'm still not sure people would have picked Austin Forkner. Of course, we had that massive pile up when guys like Vial and Deegan were taken down. Last year, I don't think Max Anstey was anybody's favorite. I'm a believer in the weirdo opening round results at times. I think Jalik Swole is going to get his first career Supercross win in eighth place. I could pick like 10 guys for eighth place. I'm going to go Drew Adams. There are so many guys. I think Drew, I mean, I think about other guys like Dudney could be there. Nate Thrasher, I mean, dude could be 20th or dude could win realistically with him. So many guys in that range. I think Cody Shaw, Colin Park will be there. Of course, you pick Colin. I'm going Drew Adams, though. I don't think he shows podium level speed early on. I think it's a steady build for him this year. I think eighth place is a decent start, though. But there you have our podiums for Arlington. I would say will we be right, but you look through our results this year, and there's some rough stuff. Although Jack did nail all of the podium. I forgot Anaheim too. You nailed everybody in the 450 class podium. And then there's me, or no, that's you at Houston, who was opposite. You 0 for 3 that weekend, but
Hot and
as you
cold.
can
I had
tell,
a hot week last week. This week we're getting back to the cold week last week. We're getting back hot this
yeah,
week. You know what I'm saying? You fired
yeah,
up.
I I just want consistency a little bit. You look at mine, I'm not feeling it this year. Like I said last week, I need to go find my fantasy 2023 level of performance again. Because if I was in that level, and then last year I did it a little bit differently, but last year I would have ended up winning the championship. I didn't take the points for the last few, but I know with Australia winning MXDN, it was wrapped up anyway. But there you have it. This has been a video format, episode 29 of the Stire Sound. We hope you like this content style. We hope you liked my colorful spreadsheets. It's not the most colorful spreadsheet I have. I would probably give people some eyesores with some of the other spreadsheets I have with all the information. But thank you for tuning in. Like I said at the beginning of the show, if you have other ideas for video style, different platforms maybe we could try out, let us know. We're open to anything. We're still trying to grow this podcast and this brand. So this is a step forward for us. I am Trey Stire. He is Jack Noel. You can find us, of course, if you are watching, find us on social media. TJ Stire3 is my Instagram, TJSTIRE, and then the number 3. I'm also on X at Stire23. You can find our show at the Stire Sound Official on Instagram. Of course, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. You get to see this beautiful video quality program now and iHeartRadio as well. Jack, go ahead, plug your socials, plug the Dirt Bike Depot socials before we leave. Hope you
Follow
all
DB,
enjoyed, and
DBD Racing, Dirt Bike Depot, Dirt Legal, KTM USA. I mean, I can just go down the
all of
list,
them.
but Jack Knoll 35, Jacked Up SMX. Come see me in Arlington if you're there. See you
Me
guys in
as
the
well.
next one.
We'll
You'll be
be there
there.
this weekend. Yes.
Yeah,
Come
I
on,
get to see my boy Trey.
Yeah. Yes, Arlington. Daytona, unfortunately, a no-go, but yes, if you are at Arlington and you are a listener, please say hello if you find us in the pits. Saturday, I'll probably want to be all over the place, so not guaranteeing you'll find me with everything going on, but thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed. We hope you keep watching these video broadcasts. Also, real quick plug motocross.com and twmx.com, twmxdotcom for all your latest news. That's the Instagram account. Stay tuned to all of our social pages for updates and stuff throughout the week. He's Jack Noel. I'm Trey Stire. This has been episode number 29 of Stire Sound, and the Stire Sound is fading out. Thanks for listening, everybody.